But it was great to see them out in the community.
This is part of the pieces that I did in the cathedral 2 weeks ago. So I've got a set of components, a set of sculptures that I think there are maybe 200 or 300 components to it. And depending on the environment that I place it, then they're always placed differently and I react differently. So I put these in the cathedral, which you filmed about 3 weeks ago, and because of the way the pennies were on the floor and the way the marble was structured on the floor, it was very much in grids and matrixed. Whereas here, I'm not putting them all out. I'm just experimenting with some of the boxes. And what I really like about it is that each time I put them up, same components, but they're different pieces of work.
So you're saying it's site specific?
It's very very site specific. And it's that playfulness, just playing. It's a bit like, it's an extension of Lego. So it's the same thing I used to do as a child, getting certain things and seeing what they do when you put them together. The only difference is I make these things, but I don't have a set way of putting them down. So these are the pieces of, this is the rubber from, these are the pieces of dirt that's off the Graham Sutherland tapestry. And I was given the dirt by the cathedral. I've got 4 sets of dirt, and this is the sort of the set that is on. They're on fire sponges, so the bits of rubber, a bit like putty rubber. And with these, as I did in the cathedral, I can just, because this grey floor and the way the lines are in the grey floor, I can start to accentuate certain marks. And therefore, again, I'm in control and not in control all at the same time.
Tell me about your new work.
It's over there. It's I'm doing a series of beach paintings, kind of existential in that even when people enjoy themselves, or they think they're enjoying themselves, they're just a blip on the landscape. But I've tried to do it in a kind of impressionistic, abstracted way so that I don't get too tied down with detail. It's a difficult linguistic balance when you're a figurative artist to try and stay loose but at the same time descriptive. So that's what I've been attempting to do at the moment. And also just make a painting that engages the eye, romances the eye.
Because you've got a very long history here and going back in Coventry to the 80s.
20 years, yeah, 20 years. I was an art student in the 80s, graduated in the early 80s, and have been here since 1994. I'm retired now, so this is my time where I can start painting on a regular basis rather than just at the weekends and in the evenings when I've got the spare energy. And I'm trying to put myself about a bit because up until now I've never really bothered with shows and things like that. So it's my time now to try and get my name on the waves, if at all possible. Of course, it's very difficult. Being an artist is a brutal, totally subjective regime, and I know plenty of bitter and twisted artists. This building has served me very well, and I hope they manage to keep it. So because it's served me very well indeed, and I just wish somebody else the best. I'm going to be moving on at the end of January down to London. So I have a space at the Cuppet Studios, which is quite a prestigious studio setup. So I'm lucky there.
This is my space in Artspace, and Since a year or two, I have started making cuttings in. I found also inspiration in Matisse, as you can see. That's what I've done on the wall. But so what I do is cuttings from things that I pick up in my life, and I make a collage of them onto watercolor or other media. But so I do the background too. Then the other thing I do is sculpture. I'll make little objects, make bigger ones too, but I haven't got any space to show it here. They're all crocheted or knitted, and when I see the chance, I will combine it with ceramics, which I've made myself too. And otherwise, it will be combined with found objects.
I mostly work in pen and ink with watercolor, and all these work last year I did all these works, and basically basically all these are from day-to-day work we do, and this is from you can see the double two faces in one face. You can see that. Yeah? It's depicts that we all live two lives in our one life.
Art Evokes has been going for nearly 20 years now. Well, next year it'll be 20 years. And it's a charity for people with mental ill health. And we're using the arts as a tool to help people, grow in themselves and gain some confidence and gain some new perspectives about life and themselves within the group, supporting each other through the arts. So what you're seeing here are 15 mandalas, and they're built up in layers. So there's the inner circle, which represents how people feel in the here and now. The outer circle is how people feel about their environment and how they position themselves to it. And then it's about what they want to leave behind, what they want to move to, and then there's other perspectives to it. So it's kind of quite interesting how everybody's doing it differently. It is about celebrating individuality, and but also learning from each other, really.
Gone on it and this sort of stuff, but I thought, go on. So I spent a bit of time taking it apart.
I remember them from the buses.
Yeah. And Clippy used to come around.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can set the shillings and that's off a telephone.
Yeah.
Old style telephone, isn't it? If I remember right. Hey?
On my head. Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember.
Oh. Yeah.
And it's still got a bit of ink in it, and it still works. I don't know what to do with it. I just
What colour was it? Like a yellow?
They were sort of beige. I remember them being
Yeah.
in Coventry. I
Yeah.
remember being
Yeah.
beige. This is
the bus driver.
yeah.
Yeah.
I forget where it's from. It says on. It's from something like Sheffield or something.
Ah.
It's not local.
Before my time, when I came in 89.
Oh, okay, you're a baby.
Yeah.
This is from your way, Winton, I think.
And they used to have stuff like that from York.
I don't know if anyone can.
They probably...
No, it's a bit
Is it
smudgy.
there?
It's got. I can't. It's not local anyway. But the watch thing's the latest one. The taking watches apart and then reconstructing them as 2D works.
I'm David Beaumont. This is my artwork. I've got these 3 drawings here, and these 2 up here. I've got these 2 heads and these 2 collages. The work is in relation to the austerity and the banking system and the war machine and the City of London and the whole financial system, global financial system, which is all feeding off carcass of public owned property, i.e. the National Health Service welfare state. and which in society is being punished, and is the fragility of society because the lack of funding in certain parts of society, like the welfare state, which is on the verge of collapse. And the feeding the bankers, like the unaccountable and culpable greed that is going on with the banking system is quite evident.
My name is Karina Geddes. I'm a studio holder here at Artspace, and I create textile and craft pieces based on culture and folklore and basically anything that is remotely interesting about different bits of the world. I live in Coventry and I'm a De Montfort University graduate. I did design crafts. This was my graduate project here, these pieces, and the kind of general ethos was to talk about Hinduism, as it's a very, very, very old religion, and it's very visually orientated religion. It's got some maybe more graphic imagery, but there's some very beautiful imagery, and it's very creationist. I wanted to contrast that with the poverty in India, and basically all the socio problems and socioeconomic problems they have. So what I did is contrasted all the slums with Hindu imagery and like kind of nature. I wanted it to be colourful and beautiful like India, but also show that there is extreme poverty, even though they're obviously a very, very old culture. And that was kind of the plan. And I used basically a lot of very old-fashioned textiles and Indian printing techniques, and new ones and old ones, put together to create small textile pieces. Yeah, this is based on Sylvia Plath's The Bow Jar. And I thought that'd be quite interesting to kind of contrast talking about depression and suicide, but with kind of the glitzy and feminine colours of things like makeup and stuff, which are discussed in the book. And I kind of tried to make it quite tragic, but ended up, I think it's quite cute instead of tragic. But it was quite an interesting project, because obviously taking imagery like drugs and mental health, but bringing it into a very feminine 50s era. It was also, yet again, textiles are playing on the act of, feminism. And yes, I'm very interested in mental illness. It's something that is very, very overlooked. So it's something that I always maybe try and bring up in my work. There's things like depression, poverty, basically big social issues like that maybe people don't talk about, and try and portray them in a very beautiful textiles, but then a very light colour scheme, so people are drawn in by it. And then if you show them quite maybe dark imagery, things like lipstick next to knives, next to syringes, it just to provoke a bit of thought, but also create something very beautiful at the same time.
This is a live class I run in Coventry Artspace. In January it will be the 10th year that we're doing this. I normally do 3 courses a year, and it's open for all levels. Some of my students have been with me for the whole 10 years, or even before that. People have gone on to university. But I try to get people a bit out of their comfort zone, so they can free up a bit.